Hello and welcome to Quartzlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode it'll be the concluding part of this Ford car range for 1979 in Australia. Hello and welcome back. Now if you're new to Quartzlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking back at cars gone by, it's really all about the memories, then please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. Now, back to today's episode, and we're continuing our Ford Cars Australia brochure for 1979. We've come to the commercial vehicles now. A couple of things to note. This particular episode was first aired on a Friday. We call those episodes Ford Friday episodes. You might not be watching on a Friday, but this is when it would have first come out. Every Friday we actually look at a Ford from around the world. And yes, over the last few weeks we've been looking at Australia in 1979, the full range. So if you missed any of those episodes, I'll put a little bit of a link in a little box right at the end of this episode. It doesn't really matter which order you watch these in, but certainly have a look at that if you missed any of the episodes, because we are on to the last episode now. We'll look at these final commercials. Maybe we'll discuss which is our favourite model in this brochure, but let's throw the brochure on the board now and have a look at where we're up to. So this is where we landed last week. We were looking at the Sundowner vans, which you can see on this lovely piece of artwork, and what brilliant vehicles they were and what amazing graphics they had. Very interesting vehicles. This whole section has been about the Ford recreational vehicles, meaning the Sundowners, and also light commercial vehicles. We kind of ran out of time because, we went and had a look at the Sundowners. Not just one Sundowner van at this time. We've got the Escort, we've got the Falcon, we've also got the Transit, which I'm sure a lot of you have forgot that there is a Sundowner Transit as well. Well, like I say, we're now to light commercial vehicles, and there's lots of those as well, so that's what's going to take up today's episode. Let's just turn to the first page showing the light commercials. First ones up are the Courier and the Ford F100. So we'll start with the Courier, go to the F100, and then we'll turn to the pages where a lot of people have been asking about. So here it is. Unfortunately, it does fall on the crease rather annoyingly, but the Ford Courier for Australia. I do particularly like this example, actually. Unusual lights at the front, very nice as the graphics down the side, very 70s and rather nice shade of yellow. I do particularly like this one, and I kind of like that sort of size of truck, I must admit. So I do quite like these, although effectively I think really it's just a rebranded Mazda. Also they had these in North America as well, but I believe they actually stopped earlier in North America because around about 1983 they got their own Ford Ranger at that time. So Australia, this carried on a little bit longer, but like I say, I do quite like the overall size and styling of these. We'll have a look at some of the specifications for these, and then we'll move on to the F100. The Ford Courier XLT, a pickup with a luxury feeling. I wonder if anyone did feel like they're in a luxury vehicle at the time. I very much doubt it, but the Ford Courier XLT pickup is great for commercial use and fantastic when it comes to having a good time. Courier XLT is a long wheelbase pickup which offers 0.75 tonne payload and a high degree of comfort, with 5-speed manual floor shift overdrive transmission and 3.63 rear axle ratio for highway cruising. Radial tyres, AM push button radio, cut pile carpet, day-night interior rear view mirror, door operated courtesy light, and on the outside bright chrome features. So Yeah, I mean, there's no disguising this isn't a luxury vehicle, which it's saying, but not badly really specced for this particular model for what was more likely to be a working vehicle. Although really it is advertising it more in a similar sort of vein to the Sundowners, saying throw the surfboards, canoes, trail bikes or camping gear in the back of a Courier XLT and you're ready to go. Ford Courier XLT pickup standard equipment includes the 1.8 litre overhead cam, 4-cylinder engine, 5-speed manual floor shift overdrive transmission, servo assisted dual line brakes, die-cast tie-down hooks on the load area, single hand tailgate release, wind down spare wheel carrier, adjustable bench seat, hinged seat back, toolkit plus jack, underbonnet courtesy light, a soft feel steering wheel, laminated windscreen, tinted side and rear glass, flow through ventilation, prismatic day-night interior rear view mirror, heater demister, AM push button radio, cigarette lighter, passenger side glove box, package tray, steering column, control stalks for turn signals high, low beam and wiper washer, door operated courtesy lights, interior dome lights, package tray, front quarter vents and hazard flashers. And then we got some optional equipment available at extra cost. Includes freewheeling dealer fitted accessories comprising of a push bar, vinyl body side stripes, pickup box, mounted rally bar, rear stop bumper, etc. And consult your Ford dealer, but certainly it looks like we've got those sorts of extras on this particular model. Kind of like almost feel that maybe they could have put the Sundowner name on this particular one as well. Then we really do get to more of the North American end of the market with this Ford F100 four-wheel drive. Explore the big country, it says. And there it is. I don't know about Australia, but I know in North America, if you had one of these in this condition now, it would be worth a small fortune actually. Let's have a look at the specifications. It tells us from highway to hillside, driveway to dockside, Ford F100 four-wheel drive takes Australia in its stride. For the farmer, fisherman, hunter and miner, it's the big country machine. Try it for size. Brute strength from a V8 engine, four-wheel drive toughness. It's the rakish, rugged and reliable machine with comfort up front and good load space behind. Discover Ford F100 four-wheel drive, the way to explore the big country. So we get a 5.8 V8 engine, 4-speed manual floor shift transmission, synchromesh on second, third and fourth, so no bit of a crash gearbox on first gear by looks of it. Transfer gearbox to allow selection of 3 drive modes, high transfer and low transfer ratio, so low ratio gearbox in four-wheel drive, power takeoff facility, servo assisted brakes, front axle fitted with manual freewheel hubs, adjustable bench seat, lap sash seat belts for driver and left hand passenger with centre lap seat belts, interior bonnet release, interior courtesy light operation for both doors, glove compartments, front operated windscreen washers and a rear wheel mud flap. So surprisingly actually lower specifications than the Courier essentially. But we do get a long list of options you can put on it. So the base one was very basic, and then you can add things like 3-speed auto transmission, and then you can put the XLT option pack on there. So with that you get a radio, loop pile carpet, houndstooth cloth seat upholstery, white vinyl tonneau cover, front bumper overriders, steel sport wheels, rear step bumper, low line swing lock exterior rear view mirrors, XLT badges, body side protection mouldings, bright windscreen and rear window surrounds, bright drip rails, body side mouldings with black vinyl inserts, lower body side mouldings and tailgate mouldings. Consult your Ford dealer for further details and other options available. So essentially this is your Ford F100 with that XLT option back on it, and it does look great. And certainly, I don't know about Australia, but these sort of four-wheel drive trucks have really gone from strength to strength in some ways, and in some ways you could say these are actually better than what they have become. So in the North American market, if you get a Ford these days, these big Ford trucks, they've more or less gone to the double cab pickups rather than these sort of, I'm not even sure even they sell the basic two-door Ford pickups anymore in this sort of size. They've gone for the four-door pickups, which sounds great in some ways, although that also means the very reason you have a pickup, the bed, which I'm sure this is probably an 8-foot bed, the bed itself has got smaller and smaller, of course, so they're around, under 6 foot, like 5'5", and almost like a pointless size. So the truck itself has got bigger and bigger, the actual bedside has got smaller and smaller, which is a strange thing, really. I don't really understand that idea, but anyway, that's how the truck market's gone in North America. I'm not sure how that has turned out in Australia, but we'll turn the page. And for me, the more interesting pickups, or should I say Utes. So I know this model is something that a lot of people mentioned when we looked at the Ford Falcons earlier in the series. Well, here they are, the Ford Falcon and Falcon GL utilities, or Utes. And for me, I actually prefer these to the Americanized pickups, to be honest with you, because they're low enough to throw things in the back, where I've always found the big four-wheel drive trucks are quite a stretch to put things in the back, and a very useful works area. I always find these are a better sort of work vehicle in many ways, but sort of a vehicle that's sort of become less and less common in many ways. The Great Work Australia, it says. So anyway, we'll have a look at these specifications and this little, maybe we'll start with this introduction first. We'll look at the specifications and we'll come back to these lovely images. So it tells us today's Ford Falcon and Falcon GL utilities, shorter, narrower on the outside, yet no reduction in load space. Lighter, yet by the use of thicker gauge steel and a revised floor profile, the load compartment floor has been greatly strengthened. Cab doors are now framed for more rigidity. Side air extraction windows combined with 3-speed fan, boosted ventilation to provide a more effective airflow through the passenger compartment. Falcon utility improved in ride, handling and manoeuvrability, upgraded in engine performance and operating economy, designed to be more reliable, easier and less expensive to maintain. So some of the standard highlights: we get a 3.3 litre cross-flow 6-cylinder engine, 3-speed manual column shift transmission, power front disc brakes, tells you the radial ply tyre size, styled steel wheels, rectangular quartz halogen headlights, gas struts for easy lift engine hood, side air extraction windows, soft feel 4-spoke steering wheel, bench seat with folding centre armrest, rubber floor mats in passenger compartment, power assisted ventilation, 3-speed heater demister, steering column control stalk for turn lane change signals, high-low beam, headlight flasher and horn button, prismatic day-night rear view mirror, styled left and right hand remote control rear view mirrors, dash mounted handbrake with trigger release, lockable front passenger glove box and dash integrated parcel tray, lights on warning lamp, cigarette lighter, and then finally it tells the Ford Falcon GL utility equipment highlights for the Falcon utility, but with these different and upgraded features. So with the GL version you get things like reclining bucket seats with folding centre armrests, needle punch carpet in passenger compartment, centre consolette with cigarette lighter and ashtray, body side protection mouldings and a tonneau cover, bungee cord type. So this looks like your standard model by the looks of it, in rather a nice green colour. Wheels look very interesting, and like I say, overall I quite like the sort of like dimensions of these particular trucks. I wish these were around today in North America. I think they're a very useful vehicle to move things around, and like I say, because they're not ridiculously high, far easier to reach to the back there. We've also got this higher spec GL version. You can see things like, more bright work on the actual bumpers there. And actually, I don't know if we can make out just on the side here, it is telling us this particular one's got the optional 4.1 litre. And also, being the GL, we get this sort of like cover for the back. But overall, I really like that. I think this is probably would be my choice. Moving down to the interior, lovely seats actually for a truck or a ute. Actually, I do quite like how the Australians did their interiors and the seats for their Ford cars in various guise, but particularly on this what is just a working vehicle, it does look a very attractive interior in some ways. Although probably horrendous vinyl, but nevertheless it does look rather a nice place to be. And then we get this unusual model, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Sort of the van version, so the Ford Falcon and Falcon GL vans. They do look quite unusual actually. We'll take a look at the introduction, we'll look at the specs, which are probably going to be similar to the Ute, I would imagine, and then we'll look at these images. So first of all, similar sort of thing, you get the standard model in the GL version. It starts by saying, today's Falcon van skillfully combines the functional features of a commercial vehicle with the style, comfort and engineering attributes of the world-class Falcon sedan. Steel belt radial ply tyres, quartz halogen headlights and side air extraction windows are now standard. Lift tailgate is standard on the Falcon GL van, while rear side hinged doors are standard on the Falcon van. So essentially two different ways of opening those rear doors, I guess. The flat steel ribbed floor has been greatly strengthened and passenger compartment doors are framed for extra rigidity. From the energy absorbing bumpers to the advanced electro-coat body corrosion resistant treatment, you'll find Falcon has the technology and engineering to make it one of Australia's outstanding vans. So I'm not going to read all these standard equipment features out because, like I say, I think they're very similar or in line with the Ute version, but I will cast the camera on there just in case you do spot something a little bit unusual. We've got the 3.3 litre crossflow 6 with a 3-speed manual column shift transmission. Those specifications continue. Apologise, it does fall a little bit on that crease there, and then moves on. So he finishes talking about the standard van and then starts talking about the GL version, like I say, with different extra features on there and a lift tailgate. A look on the inside of the Falcon van version. Dashboard and steering wheel design. And then we get these images of this rear tailgate, which seems to be on the GL version, but you can have it on the standard van as well. So more of a type of Ute or truck style drop down tailgate. And then this is showing the high spec GL1 with that little bit of extra bright work, I guess, like I said, falling in line with the Utes really. And again, this particular one's got the optional 4.1. It also of course shows that different option for that more van style rear loading area at the back there. If you also notice on this particular GL, we got this sort of like side opening quarter window that actually opens on the GL version. That's a little bit of an unusual little window to actually open. So overall, a very unusual van actually, and of course we did look at these previously when we looked at the Sundowner version. Just a quick reminder that you could get them as a Sundowner as well with this wild graphics. I always thought with these, I wonder if anyone's ever brought these to the UK. It'd be very interesting if someone changed the badge and put Granada on the back of these and really confuse people. But of course, this was actually a new model, the new version of the Falcon in 79. So if you look at 78, we could of course got the same sort of idea with the previous version, Falcon Utes and vans as well. That then brings us to the end of the brochure, and this raw little graphic kind of reminds me to ask, which model would have you gone for if you can go back to 79 and pick any of these Ford vehicles? The Escorts, the Aussie Cortinas, the various Falcons and Fairlane. And then when we turn to the back page, it kind of reminds me that there is one model missing. I always thought the Capri would have been an interesting one to add to the range in Australia, but they didn't for whatever reason. It does interestingly include a picture of a Britain, or the continent as it says, version of the Capri there. There you go, the European Capri is added in this brochure rather unusually, because what it's telling us is if you are planning an extended stay in Europe, then consider the Ford Courtesy Car scheme. It's an economical answer to the high cost of getting around Europe and the UK. The scheme offers you a choice of the new Ford Fiesta, Escort, Cortina or Capri for anything up to a year, with a minimum charge period of 3 months. Take advantage of this special service. To Ford customers, you must place a firm order with your Ford dealer in Australia for a new passenger or commercial vehicle, or indeed a tractor, and take delivery of it on your return to Australia. You can also take advantage of this service if you've taken delivery of a new Ford vehicle within 6 months preceding the use of a Ford Courtesy car in Europe. So that's certainly a very interesting scheme, isn't it? So, get a lovely brand new Australian Ford of your choice and then go travelling and then try some of the European Fords as well. Interesting idea. Certainly if you ever took up that scheme, and I don't know how many people really would, certainly let me know. That is certainly an interesting idea. And then finally at the bottom of this brochure, we'll skip past all the clauses for that scheme of course, we got the little Ford Motor Company of Australia Limited address there, the 1735 Sydney Road, Campbellfield, Victoria, and of course the Ford badge at the end there. So there we go, that brings us to the end of the episode and the end of this series for the Australian cars, Ford cars in 1979. I've really enjoyed looking through this brochure actually, and some really amazing cars with some amazing engine choices. And I do like the Australian cars, I must admit. Next week though, we'll go back to the UK for the Ford brochure for 1987, which will be when the Ford Sierra Sapphire arrived. Yes, the Sierra with a boot, the very much awaited Sierra with a boot. I always liked the Sapphire, and we'll certainly have a look at that in the series, but we'll look at the full range in 1987. Don't forget to let me know in the notes which model you would have chose from these Australian cars in 79. I'm not sure which one I would have picked. There's so many great cars and so many lovely vehicles, and I've really enjoyed this brochure. But like I say, jot in the notes what you think. We'll end, as we always do, by saying please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. Yes, it doesn't cost you a penny to subscribe, and really keeps you in touch with the channel. You can also become a channel member, a Quarterlight member if you will, for a very small fee. I must note, at this point in time, not much is being offered to members, so just bear that in mind, although it is very cheap. But we're not offering too much at the moment, but certainly I will certainly respond to all your comments. And of course, if you do suggestions and brochures you want to look at in the future, obviously you're going to take precedent over everyone else. When we get more members though, as we're visited by Midnight the Cat, as we get more members, we will start, looking at extra little, thank you Midnight, we will start looking at extra little bits of information, extra videos, maybe some behind the scenes stuff, but that is to come. Midnight is now attacking the camera, so we'll say thank you Midnight. But on this page I will now add some boxes there for the full series for this. If you've actually missed any of this 79 Australia brochure, I will add a box there, and it'll put you through, because you'll be able to watch the whole thing now on there. But like I say, thank you so much for watching. Please do visit again. Please do take care. Have a great weekend, and goodbye.